I'm here in Akron, Ohio with Shanika Cochran. Shanika, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Derek. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I know we got a chance to talk before, and I think the principles you share are really going to help people in their journey. I think not just fitness, but even their emotional well-being and the principles that you have to share. And I'm just excited about the content that people will be benefited from just from listening in.
Awesome. I'm excited to share it too.
All right. So for people that don't know you, I want to go over your bio just so people can get accustomed to who you are and a little bit of your background. So if I have anything off, you just be sure to jump in and correct me.
Okay.
I'm completely okay with that.
All right.
So you attained your undergraduate degree from Old Dominion University in Occupational Studies with an emphasis on fashion and marketing.
Yes.
That's intriguing. We'll have to come back to that one. Then you got your graduate degree from Virginia Tech in Educational Leadership and Policy Studies. Is that right?
Correct.
And then you were a director of residence life. You're, of course, now you're a women's ministry leader here in Akron, Ohio, for the Akron Canton Church. And then you're a fitness instructor and you're certified with Zumba, group exercise, and Tabata.
Correct.
And then you're also an EFT practitioner and a coach. And EFT stands for again?
Emotionally focused transformation.
Okay, we're going to come back to that as well.
All right.
So we want to make sure we understand you, but then of course we want to discuss principles that can really help people in their personal journey. So when it comes to your bio, it says you have your degree in Occupational Studies with an emphasis on fashion and marketing. Tell me a little bit about the fashion and marketing, what that means, or
Sure.
What went into that, and how does, and also let me know how it influences you today.
Awesome. Yeah, I think when I was at ODU, I started out as a communication major, and then my roommate, she was from Japan and she was a fashion major. And I was like, oh, that sounds like fun and creative. And so it was pretty much just the buying aspect of fashion and just the trends. And I really loved it because it gave me an opportunity to be creative. And so I had great professors, and I just knew that if I went to school for something that I liked, I could do well and get the grades I needed to do something else if I wanted to. But and how it influences me now is just kind of with Zumba, there's a lot of opportunity to be creative, whether it's like creating a choreography or just, even mixing some of the music that I have. And, so I still have that creative, outlet in my life.
So are you somebody that keeps up with the current fashion trends as well?
I used to. I appreciate those like fashion gurus and stuff. And I still love the beauty of fashion because I think self-expression in that way is really cool, and I admire that. But, as a mom, and I sometimes don't always think about or look through the fashion pages, but there's times that it does catch my eye.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's funny is my wife and I were at the mall the other day. We were walking and we saw quite, not a lot, but we've been seeing a lot of these guys with the fanny packs. You seen those on the chest?
Oh my god!
Especially like a basketball player type guys.
Yes.
And I was like,
it's coming back.
We're like, and I didn't even know what's called a fanny pack. We're looking at them and trying not to stare, be awkward, but you're like, hey, what is that on their chest? It looks like a bag. And then, sure enough, one of my friends, Eric Nuncio, was on the podcast. He was at the house and he showed up with one. And then
that's funny.
It caught me off guard. And I was like, no, I'm not going to mention it. And then, so
and then you did.
when I talked to Angelita, that I said, hey, Eric came on for the podcast, and he had one of those things.
Yeah.
But I hesitated and I didn't ask him. But then he came for another podcast and I got a chance to ask, hey, what is that thing called, on your chest? And then he's like, oh, it's a fanny pack.
Yeah.
Which for some reason I thought it would be a better name. I don't know why. I thought it would be.
No, it's, what's so funny is like that was really popular in the 80s. So that's that thing that my parents said about fashion is so true, that it just comes full circle. It comes back. So we used to wear them. We used to wear them around our waist.
Right.
With the big high jeans. So that's coming back too. High waist jeans. So.
You're right. And so I was telling him, I was like, hey, well, you're keeping up with the trends.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like other people could pull off trends that I can't. Yeah. And I'm going, hey, more power to somebody else.
Right.
But good. So fashion and marketing. And then, so your graduate program was in educational leadership. Tell us a little bit about that and what you were thinking as you were going through that program.
Oh, yeah. I loved it. Actually, at Virginia Tech, it's a higher ed program. And that's kind of what we call it for short. It's higher ed program, higher ed student affairs. But I was an RA in undergrad, and honestly, I became an RA because I thought, wow, to give me an opportunity to meet more people. I was a transfer student at ODU. And also the free room and board, you can't go wrong with that. I was like, yeah, but then I ended up really loving the culture of residence life. And I remember looking to my supervisor, like, what do you do? Like, why are you here exactly? Did you go to school for this? Because I didn't know it, even existed till I got to college, this whole higher ed education kind of career. But the program was super leadership based. It was just helping students. Like everything outside of academia, you come to college and it's not just about your class and what grades you get. It's like, how are you living outside of this? Like, what kind of leadership skills do you have? Do you understand multiculturalism? Do you understand even simple things like how to do your laundry? Like, you'd be surprised, like so many life skills that, go untapped. Even just conflict resolution. Like that was a big thing that we, talked about with our students. We got trained in even crisis, like I remember the first time I was on duty as a professional, working in residence life, the building was struck by lightning.
Oh, whoa.
And I'm like talking to parents, like, I don't think we're having move-in. I think we're going to have to hold off on that because I'm watching the building burn down. Luckily, no one students were in there, but it was just one of those careers that really taught me a lot about leadership and leading and managing people, especially young people.
Right.
So
when I was listening to your journey and stepping into that RA role, and it's what I've seen with myself and other people around me is when you take on a new role, maybe you're unfamiliar with, you're uncomfortable with, but it opens your eyes to other things that are involved. And you were stepping in, and maybe, like you said, you had the idea that, okay, this is going to help me pay for room and board, give me that free opportunity. But as you stepped into that role, it opened your eyes to other opportunities, and how can I maybe even further my education to this? So even as people listen in, I always think about, what are they hearing? And I think there's something there of taking on new responsibility. You're not knowing what other doors it will open for you along the way, or even it might pique your curiosity, and you go, oh, maybe I'll get some more certification or education to help me to stay in a field like this. Yeah,
and I loved it. Like, I can't speak highly enough about that side of the university. Like, it kind of goes unnoticed, and sometimes, but student activities, career services, residence life, all those different departments, I got a chance to kind of work in and work with those students and those professionals. And it was, I learned so much. You learn so much.
Yes. Well, good. So you took that experience and that education, and then you transitioned. So you didn't stay there.
Yeah.
So then what was that next step for you from there?
Well, basically while I was a resident director, me and my husband were married. We were living on campus. So that's a whole nother experience. We were living on campus as a married couple. And I had my first child. And so my son Corbin was like the first baby on campus.
Whoa.
And so
you're breaking all kinds of new ground over here.
All the students was like, can I come see the baby? And as a new mom, you're like, no, no, I don't want you. Students are very germy, and there's all kinds of sickness. But anyway, but I realized, like, okay, this may not be something I want to do long term anymore because of my place in life. I don't know if I want to raise my baby on a college campus. And so that gave me opportunity to look to another, a different career. And so when we were living in Texas, me and my husband got asked to be in the full-time ministry. And it was at the perfect time because I was looking to find work. Like, I was at stay-at-home mom for a little bit. Then I was like, that ain't for everybody. Like, I appreciate everybody that does that, but I love adult interaction too. And so what was so funny about that transition was, I'll never forget when I was a resident director, one of my good friends, she was like, oh, your job kind of reminds me of ministry. And I was like, I didn't know, because I wasn't in the ministry yet. But then when I went into the ministry in Texas, I was like, oh, it is. Like, I'm mentoring, I'm kind of coaching people, like spiritually, emotionally. I'm like trying to help people in their journey, and it reminded me so much of the work that I did in higher ed. So it was a pretty smooth transition. I love Texas, so I felt like, God really put me in the right place to pursue that.
That's spot on. And even when you mentioned seeing, I think you were seeing the ministry components involved in real life. And you think about people in different roles in society. Some of them are like, this ministry happening right here. And even like with podcasting, it was like something small, but having different guests on, and they're giving me the feedback saying that revived me. I'm just going, really? Like all we did was have a conversation.
Right.
But we're listening, and I want to hear their journey, and I'm genuinely, it's being quick to listen, slow to speak.
Right.
And all of a sudden there's this form of ministry. We don't call it that. Right. Even I think I used it the other day, and I said, it's I called it like an indirect ministry. And then the guy I was talking to said, why do you say indirect? I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess, you can just call it ministry if you want to. But there's components of that in our lives, and seeing how it meets needs, and you were meeting needs in your role as an RA.
Yeah, well, RA and then a director,
and then a director. Yeah. But you're taking care of people. You're meeting their needs, taking care of people, which is what ministry is. Yeah. So full-time ministry. And so you're still doing that. Yep. But then you've added fitness instructor. So how did that come about?
Oh, yeah. Well, one thing that I firmly believe in is like just the holistic wellness of a person. Like I believe in like spiritual health, emotional health, physical, like you got to take care of your whole self. And so about 6 or 7 years ago with my parents, I found out they both were diabetic. And I was oh man, I really need to start paying attention to my health because I'm from the South. I'm from Virginia, and we eat mashed potatoes, fried chicken, ham, like it was Thanksgiving food every day. You know what I mean? So I didn't really think about bacon is not something you should eat every day, every meal. But and so I realized this is something that I could possibly prevent with like nutrition and working out. And so when we lived in Maryland, I ended up joining a gym. And at first I wasn't like super pumped to go because I just didn't know what to do. I was happy that they'd watch the kids. That was really the first motivator. It was like, they'll watch the kids and I can kind of just have some me time. And but then when I moved here, I started taking group exercise classes. And the community of that really won me over because I saw the accountability. I saw the welcoming, environment. And also, it was just fun. It's fun to do that with other people. It's fun to, work out and like hold each other accountable with that accountability and with that partnership. Yes. And so then that led me into becoming an instructor because I was like, you know what? It'd be cool to do this for other people because I know that I had some amazing instructors in my life who really, I look forward to working out. I look forward to just seeing them just coach me on through a class. And I was like, I want to be able to do that for other people too,
It's interesting. You talk about your overall wellness and you talk about like spirituality. You go, it's not just, like your overall wellness isn't just like spiritual, or is it just, go read your Bible and pray and you'll be good to go. Right. Yeah. But then you talk about emotional wellness, your physical wellness, which you're being a fitness instructor touches that, touches a variety of those areas. But then even in your bio, you had this role as a coach. Right. So tell us more about being an EFT practitioner and a coach. What is that, and why did you pursue that?
Well, it's funny because, and I'm sure most people can attest to this, like we're real good at educating like a specific subject of academics. Like you got to know math, you got to be a good reader and writer. But what do you do when you have feelings you don't know and you feel different things about life, whether something that happened to you that was even a small trauma, like you lost a job or you had a relationship that turned out to be a disappointment or you just feel hurt. What do you do with that? And it led me on this journey of like, I need to figure this out because I'm holding stuff in or I'm experiencing things internally that I don't even know how to communicate. Like I just feel, upset about something, or I feel like I'm holding on to something in the past. And so when I was at Virginia Tech, thankfully, I had already graduated, but the year before I the year after I graduated from Virginia Tech, they had the shooting there.
Oh,
and so many of my
right.
students were affected by that.
Yes.
I was affected by that, even though I wasn't there, that hurt me, and I didn't know how to deal with that trauma. And I remember going to I ended up winning this training to go get trained in Las Vegas to become a Fast EFT practitioner and to deal with emotionally focused transformation. And it was incredible to realize that you can have an emotion about something, but it doesn't have to stay there. Like I didn't know that I could change my emotional state in regards to a trauma. Because sometimes we just accept that like, okay, this was traumatic, this is too hard. And you can still cry like 20 years later, just about something that happened. But you don't have to. You can actually experience healing.
Wow, yes.
And I experienced that, and because I experienced that, I was like, oh, I got to figure out how to do this for other people.
Yes, because,
right. Having several ministries at this point, whether it was in education or just trying to help people, I know I wasn't alone. I know people had things, like that they were going through real things for them, that they were stuck emotionally.
Yes.
And so that was a very freeing like practice. And it still is. Like I've seen a lot of people grow and change. And it's just a tool. Like it's not a like, oh man, this is going to cure all of your diseases. And, no, it's just a tool because I don't think many of us are taught how to deal with to manage our emotions.
Yes.
So that's pretty much what EFT is. It helps you really as a person to manage your emotions.
And it's powerful. It's spot on. When I think about what I do as a communicator, right? If I'm putting together a speech, it could be, I put together a speech 2 weeks ago for the Greater San Marcos Youth Council. These are,
awesome.
are children who have been, removed because of neglect or abuse in these really trying situations. And it was a non-faith event, so I'm not using any scriptures or any, Bible passages, anything like that. But any speech that I'm writing, it's not logic that actually moves people.
Yeah.
But it's the emotions.
Yeah.
And fundamentally, if I have the ability to connect with someone emotionally, then to your point of transformation, like transformation can happen, change can happen if people are touched emotionally.
Oh yeah.
Or even when you're talking about for you, if people are blocked, if they're having this emotional block, that can prevent so much growth and change and transformation.
Totally. And that's really like one of the things I learned with EFT and even just the science of how our brain works. It's incredible. And so, I love that. I love that I had the opportunity to get trained in that, become a practitioner. And I love that being able to help people really help themselves, really help change their own perspective about the past and about a current situation where they can really find some healing and some clarity.
Yes. And when I think about life, it's not just like salespeople who are trying to motivate people. So parents are trying to motivate their children.
That's true.
Spouses are trying to motivate their spouses. A homeowner trying to motivate their neighbors. You think of motivation. I think about it. It's in everywhere, all around us. And even for people listening in, when it comes to motivating and helping people, if you can help people at the emotional level, your emotions influence everything.
It's true.
And if you can help somebody in that spot, it really can, it can be one of the most powerful services you could provide to someone.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think because, I work in ministry, I know that, someone's emotional health affects everything. It affects all their relationships. Yes. It affects their view of God, and so it's just like what you said, like if you can really impart that gift somehow to someone just to free them or help them emotionally or connect with them emotionally, it just makes such an impact,
Yes. So. And to your point about trauma, it's like those are those negative, powerful, emotional experiences. Yes. And you can have that moment. I share regularly on the podcast because it's my life, with my dad, him committing suicide, right? This is the most traumatic event of my 17 years of life when that happened. And I was talking to a group of people, some volunteers in the community, some volunteer leaders a couple of weeks back. And I was sharing how, yes, that was like the darkest, ugliest time of my life.
Yeah.
Now, however, what's taking that moment, and I wanted it to grow from it, learn from it, make the most of it. And I can look back now, and it's almost like and it sounds morbid. What I'm about to say is gonna sound morbid, but there is, having overcome that in my life, it's almost like a trophy where I've overcome that. It was hard, it was difficult, painful, heart-wrenching, soul-crushing, all of that. But to take that, and if I can overcome this, and I can do it well, and I can heal from it, then when I think about any other challenge in my life and I compare it to that challenge, it's like, well, I've been through this. I've been through the most painful thing already. Right.
Yeah.
So if I could overcome that part of my journey, I could overcome anything. So even when we think about trauma, we think it doesn't have to be permanent.
Right. You don't have to keep doing that to yourself. People will continue to relive trauma as if it just happened yesterday. And sometimes there can be a sense of like guilt that they should.
Yes.
But that's not true anywhere. Not even scripturally, we don't have to carry that. You know, like when you look at Paul and the way he dealt with some things, you know what I mean? Like, but his perspective, you think about it, is so refreshing because he has hope still. And I think that's great that you're able to look back and say, wow, I've gotten through this. And I think that's the freedom that we should want to have. It's good to like learn from challenging situations and not let it stop us from going, but to allow us to connect with other people on their journey.
Right. And I like how you said connecting, because even now, it didn't mean that there's an absence of anger. Like I could say I've healed from it, but there's still there's this anger that's associated. Even like when Father's Day comes around, I notice there's a little bit of a trigger of anger. But knowing how to not let that anger control me. Exactly. But understand it, see it. Okay. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to consume me. Right. It doesn't have to control me, but to be able to take that experience and go, okay, I can. I guess recovering from the trauma or healing from the trauma doesn't mean that it no longer has any emotional effect on me. Right. Exactly. And I think that's one of the things that, I've learned about doing EFT is that your emotions want to be recognized. You can't hide it. And I think even just there were times before I learned about this tool that I would kind of just push it down. Yeah. Oh, I'm not supposed to feel that. Okay, I'm not supposed to think like that. But really, I do need to say, no, I'm really upset, or this really hurt me. I need to give it that space so that I can actually work through it and change it. But if I try to ignore it, it ain't going nowhere. It's just I love this saying. It's I forgot who I'm quoting, but they said, a memory buried alive never dies. Oof. And so it's if you have these issues, you just try to bury it, it's still there. You're just trying to ignore it, but it's still there. So it's important to be honest, I think, with yourself. And the connection it provides to other people, because when I tell people, and it's a weird thing, I'm like, yeah, I know Father's Day, I'm at church and they're honoring the fathers. Aren't they supposed to be happy right now for them? But I don't feel that. Yeah. But when I start telling people, I feel angry at these odd moments, all of a sudden they say, hey, I feel angry at weird moments too. Right. And then they're going, and we're just sharing stories, and all of a sudden I have a connection. Right. And that connection is super healing to me. It's oh, okay, I'm actually not alone in what I'm feeling. Right. And even as I talk to different people from different groups, as one of the messages, I want them to know, if I'm successful in communicating, then I've showed them that I've had the emotion they're feeling right now, even at their most rejected, down, hurt moment. I've been there too. Yeah. And it's not free of my life. I still have it. Yeah. But it's a powerful way to connect. True. A great conversation. I think we could probably spend hours on EFT. I think we both have some passion in that space. I do want to ask, were you always passionate in your fitness journey, or did something change along the way?
I think I had mentioned it a little bit earlier about just the group exercise classes. That really helped me to be passionate. Passionate about attending, passionate about the relationships that I was building with people there, And that's what really changed, because I would go to a fitness place and I'd be like, oh, I'm used to the elliptical, and then you go home and you're like, okay, that was cool. But when you do that and you kind of interact with other people, and you cheer other people on their fitness journey, it makes it a community. So I think, whatever people decide to do, if they can find a community, if they have any goals, if they can find like-minded people, you're going to be quicker to achieve those goals. Because if you don't have that personal accountability, it's just very hard.
It's real. It's real.
It's just really hard.
It's real. And I find myself, whether friends that so naturally, in my faith, I want people to come along with my faith in that journey. I want people to be a part of my faith community. It's just part of, who we are. And I want more people to be involved. But even if people don't come along with my faith community, I mean, because I care about people and their overall wellness, I'm like, hey, bro, like, be a part of some community. It might be a coworker, they've never been a part of a faith community before. Okay, well, I know community is powerful.
Very powerful.
And if they could be connected with the community, or even the opposite, if the more secluded they are, the more problems they're going to have. Yeah. The more they're going to overanalyze and think things and get into a bad spot.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree with that.
What inspired you to go from, hey, I'm a participant in the fitness journey to, hey, I want to be the instructor? There's a difference, right? Hey, I can go and attend it, but then I want to be in front modeling, in some ways.
Right. You know what's so funny? I feel like, even though like by my nature, I'm kind of shy and kind of can seem a little quiet, it seems like every career that I've chosen and job has put me in front of people. And it's what's driven that is caring about people. And I think seeing people be genuinely excited to take care of themselves and to work out, but to eat, it's like, if I can provide more opportunities for that, I want to be there. I want to do it, And so that's kind of what inspired me to kind of make that crossover, to kind of like help, people live more well, or just be an influence in that way. So that's how the change happened. Always my change of like being in front of people comes from just generally caring about them. Like I did the whole student affairs thing because I cared about students and wanted to make an impact. And that was like an opportunity to do it. Same thing with ministry. It was like, okay, I do care about people. I care about the teens and the campus. So if I can be of service in some way, let me do it,
Right. It's funny you talk about being shy. I'm like, shy? Like, I mean, everything you're doing, you're in front,
In front of people. But it's funny. It's like, I think it's such a funny thing. Like my feeling, sometimes I talk about the Myers-Briggs personality assessment, I'm an INFJ, but it's although I'm introverted, my feeling component, because I'm a feeler, that's stronger. So, because I feel for people and I feel like I want to help. So that helps me to get outside of myself.
And that's a principle in itself, because sometimes, we can have more, or people listening, they might have the more introverted personality, but thinking that, okay, that doesn't have to be a barrier to my effectiveness and to my influence and to helping other people. It's going, okay, I can be an introvert, but I also can put myself in a position to still serve even lead a lot of people. Yeah,
for sure. And I think, I don't know. I think sometimes kind of being a little quieter helps you to listen. Like I hear a lot of things and I hear a lot of different perspectives when I spend some time like just kind of reflecting on people's experiences and why people do what they do. And that's really fun. Like I find people are very interesting. I'll just say that.
This is true. This is true.
Very interesting.
Now, who would you say has been the most influential person in your fitness journey?
I'm so blessed that there's not just, solely one person that I would say. And I mean, definitely my husband has always.
Go Rob.
Go Rob. He's always been into fitness and like working out. Even when I thought like, why are you doing that? We're in college. Like when you think in college, your metabolism's high. And you're like, there's no need to work out. We're supposed to just chill. He always did it. But then I think when I became started going to group fitness classes, there were a couple of instructors that were so key and inspiring me. Like they were just very encouraging, very welcoming, and very good at what they did. Like it wasn't so much about like, oh, do the move just like me. It was just have fun, or do the best that you can.
Yes.
And those, two women specifically really believe in me and have mentored me through this process. So,
to that point, it's incredible to see their legacy being lived on with you. Because I'm thinking of people that you're helping, and they're looking at you and going, "Wow, you are one of the most influential people to me because of what you're doing, how you do it, how you carry yourself." Also, I liked how you talked about Rob. You talked about him encouraging you in their journey. And I think with people listening in, right, husbands who are listening in, even, I'm thinking it's a powerful way to have a wife describe a husband of, he encourages me in my fitness journey. And especially on the husband side, we could do it the wrong way. We could guilt people or shame people into trying to get into fitness. How has Rob how has he encouraged you in your fitness journey in a way that's benefited you most?
I think even just from the beginning, I think it's important to know, you got to know your spouse. Mm-hmm. So he knew it would get me in there. Initially it was like, okay, Shanika probably needs some time to herself. Okay, they'll watch the kids. So that got me in the gym initially. I was like, oh, good, childcare. Like, I do need that time. And realizing that was even a part of wellness and a part of fitness, saying, okay, it's okay to take an hour for myself and just kind of have some movement without being like, where's, Colin, where's Court, what's going on? And then from there, when I started getting interested in going to different classes and getting different certifications, he always allowed the time for it. Like, he never guilted me on like, oh, you're still doing that? Like, what's going on? Or he was like, okay, that's fine. I'll get the boys, I'll pick them up, or I'll do this with them. I got it. So I never felt guilty. For pursuing something I felt passionate about. And I think that's important because we have to give each other that space and that freedom to grow, and kind of figure some things out. So it was never about like, oh, you need to gain weight or lose weight or need to look. It was like, if this helps you to feel good and feel better and well, I want to support that.
And about overall wellness, fundamentally, Rob's somebody who knows the more you're taking care of yourself in your well-being, the better mom you're going to be, the better wife you're going to be, the better, the better church leader you're going to be. If you take care of you, it is one of those, as we think about people who are listening in, it's going to be like encouraging your spouse to take care of themselves. And that's not a selfish thing. That's better for everybody. Every relationship they touch is going to be benefited.
And what really convicted me about it was when I was first started kind of on this fitness journey and just kind of really self-love too, was when as the scripture talks about love God, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. And it's like, sometimes we forget to love ourselves and like do things to take care of ourselves. And so I remember really reflecting on that, like, wow, how do I implement this and actually do things to take care of myself holistically, eating a little better so that I can have more energy, or working out so that I can have more energy, or teach my kids some healthy, lifestyle habits, So that it does help.
Well, I think that's a principle there though, right? Like loving yourself, the alternatives to that, what does punishing myself look like? And I'll be the first one to confess, right? When I'm having a bad day or something, like the first thing I think about is what bad food can I eat? Like going to the Whataburger or whatever, Coca-Cola, large size, a little bit of ice, bunch of fries, but when I think about the layers of what's underneath there, like why do I do that? Why, when I'm having a rough day, that I'm thinking that's the solution, but as opposed to the opposite, which is, okay, how can I love myself during this low moment that's stressful or frustrating or irritating or whatever it is, but to learn the process of loving myself through the way I treat me, the way I feed me, the way I take care of my fitness and all of that, but pulling back those layers and figuring out what does loving me look like. I think that, again, if people can relate to that, what does loving you look like? I think that's something I would love for people to take away from this conversation. On that note, we talk about baby steps for people starting out. So people are saying, hey, Shanika, I want to start some baby steps in my fitness adventure, in my journey for fitness and nutrition. What would you recommend for people who are starting out?
One of the things that helped me is just finding something that you like. A lot of times people think about working out as like, oh, I know I should, I don't want to, like, it's like punishment. It's like, I don't want to, but if you find something that you like to do, and even finding someone else to do that with, like, I know people who just walk around the block. There's one lady in the neighborhood, she just will walk laps around the block. I'm sure she's listening to her music and doing stuff, but it's like, long as you're moving, doing something, movement is, and not having necessarily like, the goal can just be overall wellness, just feeling better. I think sometimes people can feel discouraged by like different results, or I want this to happen. But, if we have a goal, like, I'm just trying to take care of me. I'm really grateful for this one body that I get. I only get one.
That's right.
And so I'm just going to take care of it and feel the best that I can feel. And also being patient, because sometimes, like, I know when I first started going, there were certain classes it was hard to get through because I was not like quite in shape yet. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it through. That's okay.
Right.
You modify, you do what you can. It is your journey. Your body's not like anyone else's. And so I think that's important to know, just to be patient with yourself, and always be willing to change it up if you need to, because different, like when I was pregnant, like, of course, I'm not gonna be doing the same things I'm doing now, and so that's okay, as long as you add some kind of movement to your day. Yes. You'll feel a lot better.
Hey, that's the principle right there. Add movement to your day.
Yeah.
Let's take that away. Now, I do want to talk about the favorite things about your family, but before, I want to ask you one more question related to fitness and nutrition. What role would you say accountability has in the journey of fitness and nutrition?
You know what? Everything, honestly. The fitness, like, because relationships, really kind of what you were talking about earlier, like, to be able to connect with people on an emotional level, it adds a kind of accountability. Like, there'll be times when, like, okay, I missed a class or like whatever. People are like, where have you been? I haven't seen you.
Right.
And it's like, wow, it's good accountability. They're not trying to make me. It's just like there's a genuine concern and wanting me to be there.
Yes.
And it helps with their journey too, seeing me and having me be there. So I think people is huge. We got to surround ourselves with people that have a similar goal.
Yes.
If you want to be more active and add movement, find some people that want to do the same.
Yes.
And then you find it easier. That becomes like something you guys do together and build on together. Like, some of my friends that I've met through fitness classes, we go to Latin dance together.
Oh,
we
nice.
go out. We go out. We have other times to hang out, but we know that Monday or Tuesday we'll see each other working out again too.
Right. What's crazy about it is there's all types of peer pressure for negative activities.
Right.
People peer pressure to do some foolish, stupid things.
Yeah.
But if we just had that approach to it, you know what? I'm okay with some good, subtle, positive pressure, for people around me, and I'm okay providing some good, positive pressure to them. And not that, again, it's overwhelming or it's layered with guilt, but just that positive peer pressure is a good thing.
And I think it's just letting people know that they matter. Like, if you haven't seen them, you notice.
Yes.
And I think that, most people that I've talked to, or when people, mention that they haven't seen me, I'm actually encouraged. It's like, wow, they noticed that I wasn't there, or like they want to make sure I'm okay, And so it's like a slight, good peer pressure, but it's coming from a place of like, I just care about you,
Yes.
I haven't seen you.
Well, good. Thanks for being on the show. But before we close, I want to make sure I hear your favorite qualities about each of your family members.
Awesome. Okay. So my favorite thing about my husband is that He's really steadfast. He's always been disciplined in his relationship with God, but also just working out.
Mm-hmm.
Like even before my fitness journey just started 6 or 7 years ago. But his since I've known him, he's always, taking care of himself in that way. And for Corbin, my oldest son, he's super compassionate. Like there was a time when we noticed it. He was only like 6 months old, and this other little baby was around his same age, maybe like a month or so older. The little baby was crying. And then Corbin, at his very young baby age of 6 months, he was so concerned. You could see the concern in his face. And he reached out to try to touch the little baby.
Wow.
Like we were like, man, he like really cares. Like, do you even understand what's happening?
Yes, go
So
Corbin.
he has kind of like, he's intuitive to people, and he kind of want to make sure people are okay.
Yes.
And I appreciate that. He's going to be a great leader one day.
Come on, let's go Corbin.
And then Colin, the thing I love about him, he's always been like this, is fearless.
I see that.
Sometimes you want little kids to be afraid, but then I have to embrace that he's just not. That's not his character. And he's going to be able to do great things with that because he doesn't know to be afraid. And so he is very free spirited.
Sure.
He does things that he wants to do, whether it's a fun thing or whether he says something. He's not self-conscious about it.
Right.
And so many of us would love to have that quality.
Right,
We're not like, oh my gosh, should I say this or not say this? He's like, I'm just going to say it and I'll apologize later.
Apologize later. I'm taking that one away.
Yeah.
Hey, listening in. Apologize later.
Yeah, just say what you have to say. Take some risk. And so I love that about, his character.
Yeah. So I will say, thank you so much, one, for being on the podcast. Two,
thanks for having me.
I mentioned this on Rob's podcast as well, but I said that that my wife and I, we love you guys. You two have just been people that are role models to us and examples to us. And even like we started dating, we're like, who do we want to influence us? We're like, Rob and Shanika. But we just appreciate your leadership and your influence and how y'all believe in us. I know my wife was sharing with me one of her favorite things about you was that during her hardest times, even with her family along the way, you were just there, caring, listening, and being there for her. So you were just a source of healing for her. And I wanted you to make sure you heard that from me.
Oh, thanks. Oh, we love you guys. Oh, thanks for letting us share.
Well, if you're tuning in, I'm here with Shanika Cochran. This is the Strong Life Coach podcast where we speak life, coach life, write life, and lead life. Now, if you're tuning in, again, remember to like it, rate it well, comment, share it, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Have a great day.
Have a great day, everyone.